I have 26 projects on my 2026 list. Let's go through them. Hello and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Danielle. I like to build a slow, intentional, creative, and sustainable life as much as I can through thrifting, making things, creatively exploring, just bringing a little bit of color and joy into my life through those ways. If you haven't yet, subscribe below for any more content like this as well. So I recently cleaned out and organized my entire studio space, which meant purging a lot of yarn, a lot of scraps, a lot of fabric that I wasn't using. And that also means that I felt inspired to build a bit more of a list of the things that I do want to make and what I felt inspired to make after that kind of deep purge. I want to go through my list today with you, and I want to do it in a way that's a little bit organized in different categories. So I've got 4 groups of categories of things on my list. First one is going to be wardrobe staples. Everyone loves to see clothes that people are making, and it's just fun to look through patterns and see what kind of materials I have or what's on my thrift list, my Mana thrifting list for this year to find for fabrics. I also have my organization and home category, so just things that I'm going to make for around the house or to make my life a little bit easier. I also have my slowing down and knitting category. Last year, my knitting hobby kicked off. It was the first year that I actually was able to grasp it, love it, and I'm just on a bender now. And so I'm not a fast knitter, I'm a very slow knitter. My first sweater took me pretty much the full year. My second sweater took me half of the year, although I was working kind of in tandem with things. And then my third sweater took me 3 months. So I'm kind of cutting things down as we go. I'm actually wearing my first knit sweater right now. This is the first sweater that I knit. I've really loved knitting, and I've just expanded my knitting list because I love having a slow project to work on. And then the fourth category is just my creative, intuitive exploration category of projects that I'm looking at just kind of playing with and things that keep me light, joyful, playful, and aren't pressured by pattern, structure, rigidity, or anything like that. Let's go through the wardrobe staples first. I have a vacation coming up, which I'm super excited about. I'm in Canada. It is full-blown winter, and we have had a winter so far. Snowstorm after snowstorm, shoveling, just so cold, cars, batteries dying, it's been a winter. And I cannot wait for some sunshine and warmth and just being able to dress in summer clothes. I've just been in my cozy winter clothes for a long time now. So I have a few projects that I want to try and tackle before this trip. Part of my thrifting journeys will be around this trip as well. But yeah, I have a couple of patterns that if I can find the right fabrics or if I want to use anything in my stash, then I'd love to make a couple of things for the trip. The first one that I'm thinking of is a vacation summer set. So I'm imagining a tank or a tie-up tank, so a tie in the front and shorts. This is what I'm imagining I could use for my set if I don't find something. It's not the worst. It's actually quite nice and breezy. It's kind of sheer. I'm not sure how the shorts would do it. I'd have to see if it's very see-through, but it feels pretty good. So this is my backup if I don't find something more exciting thrifting for this set. And I believe these are just 100% cotton, 100% cotton curtains that I thrifted. So this is my backup for shorts and a tank set if I can make that work. If I find something more exciting or in florals or a pattern, I will do that. My next vacation sewing project, shall I get to it, is actually going to be a men's tropical button-up shirt. So my partner, I've never sewn him anything, which is so funny. I think I might try, if I have time and I find, again, a good fabric, to make him a tropical button-up using this pattern. It is called the Tropical Shirt by Wardrobe by Me. I do have this backup fabric. I don't know if he's gonna like it. I think it could be cool, but it might just be too floral and girly. I'm not sure this is gonna work. This is my backup just in case. And I don't know, as I was cleaning out my closet this past little purge that I did, I saw it and I was like, I wonder if that could work. I should say too, I have not run this by him yet. He's probably gonna see this and be like, that's gonna be a no for me. But wouldn't this kind of be a cool men's shirt? He also can pull things off like this, I think. It might be a tough sell. I don't know. I just imagine this is a cool tropical button-up and it could be fun. So that's for my vacation. The last thing I might want to make is a linen dress, a midi or maxi dress. If I found a pattern I absolutely loved or fabric at the thrift store as well for this that I loved, I would make maybe 2 of them. That was my second backup plan for this fabric as well that I kind of remembered when I went through my stash. So I may think about turning this into this Maddie dress. So those are sort of my vacation projects. Will I get to all of them? Maybe not. I don't know. I'm going to try and be ambitious. Next up on my wardrobe staples list that I want to make is, you saw me last year make the Saga sweater with my jersey cotton top sheet. I had a top sheet, didn't use it, Loved the cotton, loved the material. Tried knit stretch fabric for the first time with my projector sewing it, and like everything worked out fantastically. So I feel more confident now with knits. One of the things I want to make is this tie-up top by Socialite Patterns. I think this would be just like a nice staple piece to have going into spring, and this fabric would do really well with it. So that is what I'd like to use the top sheet remnants from, and I think I'll still have so much of it left. So I'm gonna have to find something else to do with that. I did also just remind myself that I think I have enough fabric for another dress as well if I don't find one. I actually remembered I have this very nice 100% cotton like teal color. I don't know if it's like the best color on me, but I think it would make a really nice kind of like linen midi dress. I have this kind of peach color as well, cotton, that I think could also look really nice in like a midi dress. So I may make both of those like that, or I might even make my set out of these as well. So I have plenty of fabric for my vacation. So let's take that off of our Mana Thrifting list. The other two patterns I want to make by the same designer. So last year you saw me make the Pacific pants. They are my favorite kind of shape, and I really want to make them again and try a few different things with them. That I'm on a mission to find some fabric for. So that is definitely on the Mana Thrifting list. I want to find some canvas, corduroy, like thicker fabric that I could make another pair of the Pacific pants with. And then I want to make Daniela Ray's camp coat as well as like a set. So hopefully I can find enough fabric at the thrift store to make a coat and workwear like kind of like set. I do still have the quilt jacket on my list. I know this was on my list from last year. I can't believe I haven't had the confidence or courage to cut into this dang quilt yet. But let me show you the quilt. Maybe you'll understand why. So here's the quilt that I'm still holding on to cut into to make a quilt jacket. And I think I'm pretty sure that I still want to use the Rue quilt jacket pattern. If anyone has made that pattern before and you think that that's a good cut, or if I should make any modifications to it, can you please tell me in the comments, because I would love to hear from someone who's made it. Hopefully this is the year. This year feels like the year to cut into it and make kind of like a spring quilted jacket that I can wear as it warms up a little bit. I'm still also torn on whether, I don't know if the Rue jacket's lined or not, but I may line it, I'm not sure. The last coat that I want to make is the Flora jacket. And again, if you've made that pattern before, I'd love to hear from you. But I have this wool jacket that I thrifted a couple years ago. I don't find wool that comfortable to use as a blanket. So I've got a couple other wool blankets I thrifted as well to make jackets out of in my stash that I just haven't brought myself to do it yet. I think this is a good start, and the Flora jacket looks like it would work really well for wool. And then I think I'll definitely have enough to make a vest as well. So I want to make the jacket and the vest. And then last year I thrifted this really small amount that I really love. So I'm going to use this, I think, as the binding for the jacket. The other thing I do want to try my hand at with this is like pretty perfect to the color I'm envisioning, but I want it to be like a little bit more orange. So I'm contemplating just throwing this in. I bought some Rit dye that's like a scarlet red and a yellow. And I think I'm gonna mix them to make a little bit of like an orange and dye this to see if I can't make it a little bit warmer, I guess, or like more orange. I have no idea if that's gonna work. I'm gonna try it anyways. So that wraps up my staples for wardrobes. Let's look at organization and home things next. One of them is the pin cushion by Sydney Graham. So I've just wanted to make this. It seems like a super quick, easy project. I have so much stuffing and batting and scraps that I can use to stuff projects like this. So I want to just use her tutorial and make a pin cushion so that when I'm sewing with pins, which isn't that often because I use the clips mostly, I can just work quickly and they look cool, and it's like a good scrap busting project. So I really do want to make that. I think I can knock that out pretty quickly. My old client at my design studio, Capstone Pattern Co., has incredible patterns, incredible little tags, like love everything she does. And she just released a sewing storage kind of fold up toolkit. And again, really good scrap busting project. If you subscribe to her newsletter, you get the pattern for free, which is incredible. I am going to make that soon, hopefully, so that I can put all of my knitting needles and knitting supplies in there. During my studio clean out, I realized that I have a bolster for yoga that I do use sometimes, and I love it, but it could use a cover. Hopefully like a quilted patchworky cover that it has a zipper so that I can just unzip it, throw it in the wash, and bring it back on. And then 2 zero waste projects. Let me show you. I have a whole other bag like this. I have 2 bags of just scraps and remnants and batting and just like things that I need to use up. My plan for those is to make a zero waste poof cover. I think there are a couple free ones online as well. And then using all of my scraps. And I think I actually have enough to make 1.5. So my other last project in this category is a meditation pillow that I think would be like a cool shape. To be honest, I think it's gonna act more as a dog bed. If I leave it anywhere on the ground, the dogs will absolutely use it and find it and want it. But I think just like a cushion that I can use for when I'm sitting or meditating or doing yoga would be great, and another really solid way to use these scraps. Those are all of my organization and home category projects. Third category is like my knitting and slowing down. I moved to sewing and really kind of took up sewing when I wanted more instant gratification. Of course, sewing takes time. Of course, sewing things isn't a solution to making things quickly, sometimes making even things cheaply. If you're buying fabric new, it's not affordable or accessible in the same way as just buying fast fashion, unfortunately. But sewing has allowed me to use like secondhand materials to make new things that I want, to bring really specific characteristics to the clothes that I wear, to make unique things that other people don't have, and to not spend a fortune on new clothes all the time. That's also why I thrift my fabric, because like I said, fabric is expensive if you try and just go buy new fabric. It's not always cheap unless you can find stuff on sale. That being said, I always think it's important, especially for me, to have a project on the go that's not instant gratification. So I kind of have these like 3 things that I look for when I'm working on something. I make things like sewing that I want. I make things that I want to use or wear or give as a gift. Then I always have like this slow category of knitting or crochet. I haven't crocheted as much lately, but I've been knitting a lot. And having a bag, show, don't tell. Having a bag, I thrifted this bag. I thought it was cute and I use it for my knitting projects. So whatever I'm knitting right now is in this bag and I can carry it with me everywhere. I bring it with me to appointments. I bring it with me when I'm watching TV, I bring it with me whenever I'm just gonna be waiting, and it's just easy. I love to have something in my hands. I think it's important to have a slow moving project. So I have a number now of projects now that I love knitting on my list that I can use up my scraps. So I have so many colors and things that I wanna use up. If you saw my what I made last year video, you did see the multicolored raglan that I made. I can show you again here. And I wanna use up my scraps as much as possible. So one thing that I'm currently working on right now is this scrap busting scarf. I'm just knitting all different colors together. I kind of made a design, which I'll show you here as well, on my iPad. And I'm just gonna knit colors together and make a cool scarf for the rest of the winter. That's one project. I've got so many colors to knit into this project. The next knitting project I want to make is a cream cardigan. I've never knit a cardigan. I don't even really wear cardigans, but I love this one and I just want to be able to make it. So I'm not sure yet if I'm going to commit myself. I have this really nice yarn that my mom gifted me. It's not cheap and it makes me feel, that's what ends up making me feel so pressured in projects. This is why I thrift as well. The only thing is I think it would be even nicer if I had like a mohair to knit in with it. So double strand knitting. And that is very expensive. So I don't know if I want to buy mohair to make this. I don't know yet. But it's either gonna be this cardigan or another raglan in a cream color, which is a very beautiful yarn. I also have this really lovely gradient merino wool yarn that a friend gifted me last year. And it's so beautiful, and I think it's like hand dyed, and oh, it's just like really, really nice yarn. I finally want to make it something, give it a home, and I think what I'm going to make is this knit vest. It's got 880 yards. It's not going to be enough to make like a sweater, but I think it could make a really nice vest, and hopefully I would wear that enough to justify this really beautiful yarn. I am also in the midst of making this headband. It's not very far along, but it's a really cool alpaca wool yarn that I've had forever. This company that makes it's called Sugarbush, and they actually don't exist anymore. So I've got to just make things that I can make with whatever this is, 75 yards maybe. And I also have seen the sailor slippers and I'm kind of obsessed. And I don't really need another pair of slippers, but like they're so cool and so magic when you just put them in the washing machine and they come out felted. So I think I probably have to try that. That is my slow moving knitting list. And lastly is my creative exploration category. And I bring this up because there's no patterns to use for this. There's no structure. There's no guidelines. There's no timeline. There's no, I need to finish this. I want this. I need this by vacation. There's none of that. My creative exploration category is all about being intuitive and being playful and not putting the structure and rigidity around that particular project. If you saw my scrap busting chaos video, I worked through a project where I prepped some story squares. And I called them story squares because I've pre-cut out and prepped basically mini quilts. So there's like a backing, batting, and then I'm gonna patchwork and create these just like intuitive, different kinds of hand stitching, embroidery, whatever I'm feeling front, and then I can like quilt them and put binding around them. This is one giving me playtime where I'm not following a pattern. I don't even look up like quilting patterns. Like I'm really just taking scraps that I have and being like, this looks cool together, this shape might look neat, and I'm just sewing things together, not even in straight lines. That to me is just like creative play, and it connects you to a place that is different than when you're trying to follow a sewing pattern and using a different part of your brain. If you're curious about that, you can always go back to that video and watch kind of my process for it. You'll see how terrible my binding ends up sometimes. Like I fight with binding all the time. So another part of this project for me is practice. So that one's still definitely on my plate. I have a story quilt that I'm also working on. Let me show you. I was inspired by Heidi Parks, who does a lot of these and teaches these. So she was the one I learned from at the beginning. Basically, you just kind of take a piece of fabric that is your quilt top. You just embroider or sew on scraps or do some just intuitive stitching, hand stitching. You can do certain objects that remind you of certain things or have different prompts basically. So she teaches that way, where each section on your story quilt could be something like, what was your favorite part of today? Or what object represents this particular person? What color did you feel today? So you can just like have a number of different prompts that you go through, and you use a combination of embroidery, hand stitching to make an entire quilt top. I would like to finish this with a few more prompts that I have in mind and get the backing done and the batting and quilt it and make it into like a little throw quilt, a little memory quilt. And I love that. You could do it for different memories. You could do one for the year, like a 2026 memory quilt, whatever feels like really creative and intuitive and just exploring and playful for you. And maybe is something that like brings you to your creative practice every day, so that you could just say like 10 minutes today, I'm going to do one part of this. And then it's not so rigid and structured and pressury, and it's just more enjoyable. And I think there's really a lot of value and importance in finding projects that are that you can do in combination with like all the other ones. And even if you don't do any creative projects, like maybe there's one there that you want to pick up. The last one on my list is creative, kind of like intuitive collaging. I've really loved collage for a long time. Just like here and there, I'll collect a magazine. If I see one, if we're away, I'll collect something. And one thing that I found online is this idea of junk journaling for each week. I don't know if I'm going to commit to like a weekly practice, but I have this bin. And this is all like my collage journaling things. So like just taking different pieces and colors and putting them together, and like words. And this is a scrapbook from just so many things. This junk journaling idea though, which I think I'm going to use this for, is this idea of taking a spread. So I think ideally you don't want to bind in the middle, but I have another one I can use. Like you can just use a spread like this, and you create a spread of collage for that week. So like you could collect receipts, or you could collect letters from people, or if you're traveling, you could do a spread about your travels, anything really, like a candy wrapper, and you just show your week and journal intuitively based on that. I just save little doodads and scraps. I have a lot of artwork that I came across when I was doing my studio purge of just explorations of like watercolors, and I just found so many things, and I'm just like, oh, these would be good to use in my collages and just cut pieces up. I don't need to be sentimental about these things. Like this one's kind of cute, and I don't need to display them. They're not to show, they're not to share. They're just about like connecting to yourself and like going off the rails a little bit, because I think that's important. Okay, those are all of my projects for this year. Will I get to all of them? Maybe. Let's be ambitious. Let's be hopeful. We can be optimistic. I'm going to try. These are the ones that are top of mind right now. And I'm sure things will be added. I'm sure things will change. I'm going to watch so many of you other YouTubers and be like, oh, I want to make that. That's just going to happen. But this is what I'm planning, and this is what my stash kind of inspired me to plan for. And otherwise, I'm going to kind of go with the flow and see what happens. See what I find thrifting. It's always a big indicator. Sometimes I'm just out thrifting and I see a fabric and I'm like, that's what I want to make. If I see something and it inspires me, I will add it as well. I hope that you will subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and come along with me on this journey of making things. I like to bring you along to show you what I'm making, how I'm doing it, and just the process along the way. I like to take you along thrifting with me to find fabrics and clothes and be sustainable and find home things that are going to make a difference. I think this year is going to be an interesting year, and I'm just excited to have this channel as like an outlet and a way for me to be able to create a little bit of structure and priority, and making a bit more of a commitment to myself and a promise to myself to make my creativity a priority in a busy life. Thanks for being here with me. Thanks for hanging out all the way to the end. And if you're still here, comment down below and let me know what you are most excited to work on in 2026. It doesn't have to be thrifting, it doesn't have to be a project. You don't have to sew, you might not knit, but what are you most excited to work on in 2026? And if it is one of those creative projects, I'd love to hear about it too. I will see you on the next video. Bye!